All right. This show is brought to you by Tim Black's Wolfpack. You know it. My Patreon members on patreon.com. My folks on YouTube who are also Wolfpack members, thank you so much. Go to patreon.com, Tim Take Live, and become a member today. Hooah. The show is also brought to you by justinformed.com, a social media site that doesn't steal your data, doesn't sell your privacy. A social media site you can join today and become an active member. Do it. It's a site founded by activists and journalists just like you and people who just want information. Go to justinformed.com and tell them that Tim Black sent you. All right. Shout out to my friends on Facebook, Dolores Pierce, Helen Ford, Roseanne Mortarama, Brendan D. Buradano, my friends on YouTube, Popa, George Scheller, Danielle Espada, Lee Cox, Krishan, Taj Marie, Mars Pluto, Beatrice Pierre, Dave from Stone Mountain, Frederick Murphy, Fred Lexo, where you at? Bob for Kids. Truth can't be silenced in the house. A. Mayers and Donna Myers. Oh man, we got a full house, man, and I'm very proud of that considering the show is very late tonight. But it's so much happening. We have a lot of news to cover, so we go anyway, right? Just because the job's difficult doesn't mean you don't do it. We got to do it. We're going to do it with some gusto tonight too, guys. So I hope you are ready to kick some butt and take some names because we got a number of topics to cover. From Kamala Harris on The Breakfast Club to Nina Turner on Jake Tapper's State of the Union to Tulsi Gabbard in Iowa making the case. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff. And also we're going to, and I want to, gosh, I do have one announcement, but let me finish. Let me get the announcement first. This is important before we get going. Okay? Now, you know the first government shutdown, that wasn't the end of it. Just because we got things back to working, you know, that partial shutdown that we went through, that was 35 days, which was the longest government shutdown in the history of our government shutdowns. Well, you know it wasn't over. It was just a sort of like an agreement to come back to the table, but let things continue. Let's open up business. It didn't come back to the table. So this little temporary agreement that we had was only going to last until Saturday. Okay, this just came out tonight. Lawmakers reach agreement in principle to avert a shutdown. Wow, that was loud. I got to cut that down. That might blow a speaker. I hope everybody okay out there. That was like a real shotgun. A lawmaker said today, or Monday night, that they had reached an agreement in principle to avoid a second partial government shutdown set to begin on Saturday. We've had a good evening. We've reached an agreement in principle, said Richard Shelby, Republican out of Alabama. The breakthrough came after Senator Shelby and Patrick Leahy, a Democrat out of Vermont, and Representatives Nita Lowry of New York and Kay Granger of Texas, the top members of the Senate and House Appropriations Committees, met 3 times on Monday night in a last-ditch effort to get a deal. Negotiators refused to discuss the particulars of the deal, and Lowry said staff was still trying to finalize the details. Lowry said she hopes for legislation to be released on Wednesday. Granger said this, "I think everyone will say, good work." Shelby and Leahy, standing side by side, spoke to reporters early Monday evening. indicating that the group thought they were closing in on a deal and could wrap it up before Tuesday. We're talking about reaching an agreement on all of it, Shelby told reporters. So I think we're going to give it up for that. Right? I think we're going to give it up for that, guys. Now, what does that mean? That may mean, well, according to what they're saying, that would mean they came to some type of conclusion about allocation of funding for the barriers. Man, this whole battle over word usage is crazy, isn't it? I want to call it a barrier, want to call it a wall, want to call it a structure. It's all semantics, guys. That's what it is, okay? There's been a lot of misrepresentations about the wall in the media on both sides of this issue about, first of all, the efficiency or effectiveness of a wall. People build, look, we've discussed it on this channel, but if you're new to this channel, I'm an independent. I'm not here to push you to become a Democrat or a Republican. Neither one. And this show is not funded by Democrats or Republicans. It's funded by viewers. Okay? Private people who just, here go $1, Tim Black. You know? No big corporations going, here goes your whole funding for the next 3 years. Do what we tell you to do. So when I give you information, I'm giving you information based on what I've been able to research. And none of it, folks, is intended to slant you. In fact, what I try to do my best is to actually be fair and balanced and give you the real deal. Here's the deal, all right? There's no proof that the wall really stops people from getting in. Okay? There's no proof of that. And people who are desperate and finding ways to get in even where there is wall. Okay, so the whole southern border doesn't have a wall. There's not a wall the entire southern border. There are gaps where there are no wall, where there are fencing, where there's wall, where there's water, where there's mountain, where there's rough terrain. There's different things in place. But notice, guys, people have been going under the wall, over the wall, through the wall, around the wall. Like, there's been a lot of ways people have gotten around it. And I'm not going to stay on this long, but I will say this. What's hard to determine is if a wall is more effective than just having more people. Because you could just hire more, border patrol. You could hire more, you can install more technology, more drones, more satellites, more, surveillance type equipment, more technology, as I just stated. So all of these things are in the mix. We'll see what they came up with. Donald Trump wanted $25 billion. The Democrats had agreed to give him, I think, $15 billion originally, which doesn't get that much talk about that they were already going to give him billions and billions. It's just crazy. So anyway, like I stated, guys, I will definitely update you when it comes to pass, and we should be finding that out tomorrow, at the latest, I'm thinking Wednesday. All right. I want to start with Ilhan Omar. Okay, Ilhan Omar. As you know, she is a freshman congressperson out of Minnesota. Her and Ms. Tlaib became the first two Muslim congresspeople, right? If I'm not mistaken, that's the case, right? And everything was rosy. Well, as rosy as it could be when they're Democrats and you got Republicans don't like the fact, of course, that they lost a couple of seats. Here's the deal, guys. Ilhan Omar recently made a fatal mistake. Well, a nearly fatal mistake. A very dangerous mistake. And that was, she had the audacity to criticize an organization for which there can be no criticism. All right? That organization is the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC. In fact, I run the risk, just by doing this story, of having my content taken down. It's that serious. So, you see me scratching my neck now. It's like I'm worried now, because that is the reality of it. a lobbyist organization is what she was criticizing. She wasn't criticizing Jewish folks. She was criticizing a lobbying group. I criticize the NRA all the time. I criticize Big Pharmaceutical all the time. I criticize, how many lobbyist groups do we criticize? We criticize lobbyist groups all the time here in America. That's what we do. That's what we do on the left. I am the true left. I'm a part of the true left movement. We want money out of politics. We want to end lobbyist power on Capitol Hill. We want our public service to actually serve the public, not serve special interest groups and lobbyists. Her criticism is that of the lobbyist. But of course, you can't do that. Not for this one particular organization, which I will not mention again. Because when you do that, you are now doing hate speech. It's hate speech to say they have too much money influence. Okay, so Ilhan Omar apologizes for tweets about this lobbyist organization because, well, a large portion of Democrats came after her. And a large portion of Republicans came after her. And a lot of very powerful people came after her and said that she was practicing hate speech. Never did she call for violence. Never did she say someone's right to live or right to exist never did she speak against anyone's right to live or right to exist. None of that. But the fact that she would even question the lobbying efforts of an organization that's not even based in the United States. For that, she was beat to a pulp in the public square of public opinion. And it hasn't even stopped. It's still going. It is still trending. It's been days, if not weeks. Anyway, so Ilhan Omar, I guess she realized that she could not win this battle, and it was very possible that all the committees that she resides on, she may be kicked off of them. I heard that a couple people were saying that she shouldn't have apologized. I think in Ilhan Omar's mind, not that I can read her mind, I'm just assuming that maybe she's thinking, hey, I came to Congress to support my constituents. They didn't bring me here to fight this lobbyist organization and lose all of my ability to be effective in Congress. That's not why they sent me here. My constituents sent me here to champion for them. Now, champion for them to a certain degree may be calling out this lobbyist organization, but I can't die on that hill for one issue, thus losing all my power, because there were Democrats gunning for her, and they've been gunning for progressives, the new wing of any type of progressive, a progressive wave that sort of took place. There's talks of them running someone against Ocasio-Cortez for the same reason. Rashid Tlaib, same thing. They're on very thin ice. Unless you fall in line, which I think Ayanna Pressley is more than willing to do. I think that's what she's about to do, is fall directly in line, like really quickly. So anyway, that's in my defense of why she made this apology. I want to make it clear that that's what I believe it to be. Because in my conscience, I don't feel she did anything wrong. If she said something hateful, I would say it. I don't owe Miss Omar anything. I have no reason not to call it out if that's what the case is. But I don't believe it to be the truth. Anyway, so let's get to what her apology was. This is what she said. Anti-Semitism is real, and I am grateful for Jewish allies and colleagues who are educating me on the painful history of anti-Semitic tropes. My intention is never to offend my constituents or Jewish Americans as a whole. We have to always be willing to step back and think through criticism, just as I expect people to hear me when others attack me for my identity. This is why I unequivocally apologize. Now, even though she used the word unequivocally apologize, there are people saying you didn't unequivocally apologize. She just used the words unequivocally. I unequivocally apologize. Not good enough for you? Beat feet, mofo. No, seriously, beat feet. If that's not good enough, then we ain't got nothing for you, dog. There's nothing else we can do. Okay? To say a lobbyist organization is paying off people to support them does not mean that's a Jewish slam. NRA, too. Look, and I'm not going to sit here and say I don't understand the stereotypes that have been, the anti-Semitism and the stereotypes about Jews that has been in our history, that is in our current. It's not even our history that this is built on. I understand it. I do get that part, right? But it doesn't mean that's what she meant. Because she's in Congress. And she's talking about lobbyist organizations like the NRA. And to prove my point, this is the closing of her apology. She says this: at the same time, I reaffirm the problematic role of lobbyists in our politics. Whether it be AIPAC, the NRA, or the fossil fuel industry. It's gone on too long, and we must be willing to address it. Well, I guess we've all seen why it's gone on so long and why so many are not willing to address it. Because addressing it may be the end of your career. Addressing it may get you kicked out of Congress or primaried or removed from committees or, heck, even jailed. Yes, it's coming to that, guys. That's what it's coming to. I don't know what else to say. She also put out this tweet. She said, listening and learning, but standing tall. Listening and learning, but standing tall. Well, look, guys. I've seen folks get into trouble about even complimenting the Jewish community. Even complimenting them. You can't even compliment them on their ability to recover as a group after being decimated by the Holocaust, the Jewish Holocaust. Can't even comment on it because they get offended if you give them props. Like, just shut the hell up and don't talk about our stuff. I get it. I wish it was that way for all groups since it's that way for this group. Right now, in the story I'm going to do later, they're still wearing blackface. We have officials who are wearing blackface. I wonder if they donned Holocaust clothing, extermination clothing, or if they donned, I don't know, swastikas on their shirts, would they be allowed to be in Congress? If a picture surfaced of a governor wearing a swastika or making fun of Jewish Holocaust victims or survivors, I wonder how long they would be in Congress. I wonder if we'd still be having a conversation. I wonder if there'd be anything to talk about. I don't think there would be. That's not the fault of the Jews. That's the fault of the fact that nobody really gives a shit about black folks. I mean, not really. But we'll get to that later because we still got that drama going on in Virginia. And I'm bringing that up to let you know that there is definitely, obviously, a double standard. Obviously a double standard. Native Americans. I'm from Washington, D.C. I love our football team, or at least I used to. Back when I used to watch them. I even worked for them for a very short time. At that time, I didn't think anything wrong with the name of the organization. I did have problems with the organization. The organization's whack as hell. But Can you imagine them using some type of Jewish name and that be allowed? Come on, guys. Can you imagine that? I'm not even going to make fun and make jokes and try to come up with names. Just imagine in your mind, just think it to yourself, it's not illegal yet to think of something. So think about it. What if the Washington football team had a Jewish-sounding name for their team? How long would that last? How long before that team was broken up and disbanded? All the equipment burnt and them kicked out? Not long at all, right? All right. Just saying. We do everybody deserves to be respected, right? Hence me not even saying the name of the team. Or at least try not to. Because I respect my community of viewers who may not like that shit. And hey guys, guess what? They don't pay me a dime, and there's no reason to offend people if I don't have to. So why even say it? You know what I'm talking about, right? All right. But think about it, guys. Think about it. Let's go to Tulsi Gabbard, guys. There's been a lot of conversation about Tulsi Gabbard and her campaign and how she's being depicted in the media. Or should I say, how she's being axed out of the media. How she's being erased from the media. How her candidacy for the nomination for the Democratic Party hasn't even really hit the radar yet. Oh yeah, no one's talking about it. When they do talk about it, it's in a negative format. If it weren't for independent media covering it, what would we have? So I want to give a shout out to all those who've been covering Tulsi Gabbard's campaign and giving her a fair shake. I think anybody who would go up against the Clinton campaign and go up against the DNC deserves fairness. Because they damn sure ain't going to get it from the Democratic Party. Let's not harp on comments from 20 years ago. Let's not do that. Let's say, what are you about now? What do you mean now? What do you represent now? What do you believe now? What will you fight for now? And will you apologize for that shit back then? Okay, now I think it's fair to say, did you apologize? Oh, I did apologize. Okay. Say it one more time, please. Please. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so what are you going to do now? And what have you done? What have you demonstrated to show that you've grown? Don't just tell me you've grown. You should be able to show me, demonstrate to me something actionable, something tangible that you've done. Tangible 2020. Something tangible. Hashtag tangibles 2020. Anyway, something tangible. Okay, so anyway, back to Tulsi Gabbard. Now, Tulsi Gabbard talks foreign policy in her first presidential Iowa appearance. Tulsi Gabbard had either a late start or an early start in Iowa. So what happened was she went to Iowa. She was going to go to Iowa to to appear, and she would speak and she would meet with people. And this is what you do in presidential campaigns, right? Well, whatever happened evidently, very bad weather from Chicago to Iowa. I think that's where she was traveling from. It was so bad, no planes were coming out. So in order not to miss her opportunity to meet with the people that wanted to see her, the people that were going to be there, she drove. Well, they drove. I hope it was more than just her. I hope they drove, because it was a long way. I think it was at least 10, 12 hours, something like that. So they drove all the way out and they gave the speech. I got a clip of Tulsi Gabbard I'd like to share with you guys. Let's check this out.
United as one in this. Our nation was founded on the principle of a government that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. For the people. Where all people are treated equally. Where we all stand together, united as one in this country. But unfortunately, we see too often how our people are being torn apart. Torn apart based on the color of our skin or the way we worship or our gender, or how much money we make, or what country we are from. People in positions of power, both in politics, in greedy corporations, in the media, acting on their own self-interests at the expense and harm of our people, further deepening the divides between us. But this is not who we are. This is not who we are as Americans. This is not what our country is about. We are a nation that was founded on the values of religious freedom. And as we see, unfortunately, time and time again, these freedoms are under attack. We see time and time again religious bigotry being fomented to drive that wedge between us, to tear us apart. We see persecution. We see violence. So we can never be complacent, not any one of us, by standing silent as others are being attacked for their religion.
All right, so I wanted to be known that, some of the policy points that Tulsi Gabbard has. Medicare for all, she supports that. She supports $15 minimum wage. She supports ending, most importantly, our regime change wars, the wars that we engage ourselves in across the globe in order to gain power or in order to install leaders that we want in those lands, in these sovereign nations, what we've been doing. So there are a lot of things about Tulsi Gabbard that I admire. And according to the folks over there in Iowa, in Des Moines, Iowa, who came out, some of them spoke about the opportunity to meet her. It says, Gabbard's Iowa debut hit many of the points of her fellow Democratic presidential candidates. She supports Medicare for all, wants to improve the immigration system, and called for an end to government shutdowns. Most of the event attendees knew Gabbard. She's a well-known figure for the foreign policy stances and has a liberal voice in the House of Representatives. She addressed what she believes is misinformation on her stances on Syria, President Bashar Assad, who she said she denounces. Okay? Now, some of you may be aware of a Morning Joe hit job they did on her when she went on the show, where they tried to put her into a corner and gang up on her and try to get her to say Assad was, Gaddafi, who we helped kill, by the way. And she wouldn't. She said he's not an enemy of the United States. He doesn't pose a threat to the United States. And he's elected by the people of Syria. Not good enough. Because, we don't like him. All right. So, she continued her calls to take on Saudi Arabia, which she says has bought and purchased. Saudi Arabia has purchased influence in the United States, sort of like some other organizations, because that's what these organizations and governments do. And she thinks that has a lot to do with our foreign policy and why we are involved in regime change wars and conflicts outside and on all these foreign countries. All right. We need to end these regime change wars, she said. We need to invest resources in the very real needs of our people at home. Who does that sound like, guys? Who does it sound like when you hear that type of talk? We need to invest at home. We need to end regime change wars. Sounds a little bit like Donald Trump is one of the reasons why some people voted for him, because that was part of his spiel. And I know if you were, a Democrat and you watch MSNBC or CNN, you probably never heard him say that. You probably only heard him say, "Get those sons of bitches out of here. Don't be kneeling and it was evil on both sides, or good people on both sides, or bad people on both sides." I know you heard all of that stuff, but you probably didn't hear him say he wanted to end the wars. He did. That was a major thing he ran on. And now he's talking about trying to pull us out of Afghanistan, trying to pull us out of Syria, trying to pull us out of Yemen. Now, if it's going to happen, that would be, we got to see, right? But besides Donald Trump, right, who else talks about ending our involvement in overseas wars? Well, I know there are a few others, right? I think Tulsi Gabbard has more focus on foreign issues, and I think than Bernie Sanders. But Bernie Sanders comes to mind when I think of ending regime change wars. I also think of the Green Party. I think of Ajamu Baraka and Jill Stein. That was pretty much their whole platform. Well, like 60% of their platform was ending the wars. Of course, people think we're crazy if you support the Green Party because, war is so, it just goes with America like apple pie and hot dogs and beer and Confederate flags. And, I hope these other countries know that there are people within this country who would rather not drop bombs on their families. I don't know if it helps a whole hell of a lot, but there are people here that would rather that didn't happen to you. All right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you do a lot, you feel like you never do enough, you know what I mean? All right. 1 second. Something interesting I read in this article from the Des Moines Register. So it's a local paper. When you get a chance, guys, when you look at the news, it's really good sometimes to try to look at local news because they give you a little less spin than the MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, the big corporate media outlets, okay? But here goes something that I hadn't heard, which has really raised my eyebrows, yo. Check this out. She said, I supported Bernie Sanders. No, a person in the audience said, in Des Moines, Iowa, Tulsi Gabbard spoke, says, I supported Bernie Sanders in the last go-round. And I think the thing that was really missing from his campaign was he didn't touch on foreign policy. I think Tulsi has the best of both appeals, both the foreign policy and the domestic policy. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. Gabbard says she does not support the Green New Deal. Now, when I heard that, I was like, oh, man, why doesn't Gabbard support the Green New Deal? Well, it's important for people to know the Green New Deal is not the same Green New Deal that Jill Stein or the Ajamu Baraka ran on. The Green New Deal, in this iteration that you hear Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and many others talk about, is a different type of Green New Deal, okay? While Gabbard says she cares about the environment and is still reviewing the legislation, she said it is vague and does not take on important issues like nuclear power and fracking. So now you know what I got to do, right? I got to read the Green New Deal. It's crazy, right? I'll just close it with remarks made by Tulsi Gabbard. She said, unless we have leaders who have the courage to stand up to those corporate interests and the status quo, we won't see the changes we need to see. Very simple language. Not flowery, bunch of platitudes. Just what we need to do if we want things to change. Pretty cut and dry. All right. Well, we're getting down to it, guys. Let's go to Nina Turner because Let's just go to Nina Turner. Can we go to Nina Turner? I got a clip of Nina Turner on Jake Tapper's State of the Union. I think it aired on Friday, or was it Saturday? I posted about it, I tweeted about it, and a lot of people have responded favorably to it. It's an epic moment, and if you're Nina Turner, if you follow Nina Turner, you will know that that happens a lot with Nina Turner. If you follow her, if you listen to her, there's a lot of epic moments with Nina Turner. And this particular appearance, there's no exception. So let's enjoy that together, and then let's talk about it.
If the Republican Speaker of the House of Delegates becomes governor, you don't want that.
No, but we need to think about doing what's right and what's right for Virginians and what's right overall. I mean, look at the race issue in today's day and age with the president at the helm, who has been one of the most divisive presidents and, frankly, racist himself, is a conversation we do need to have. But looking at just the line of order and saying, no, we're not going to do that because of the consequences, is not the right way to do this. And so, for me, I do think we need to have this conversation, and we should continue to have this conversation. But it has to be front and center, and we can't forget about the person who is dividing us and who himself is injecting this into the country to live up again and coming out again. And we haven't seen it be this bad in recent time till the president has really made this a race issue, whether it's about African Americans. Certainly, he's doing it all over the board with immigrants, but we need to have this conversation.
I cannot.
Well,
I just can't. 1984, Gucci just a few days ago. This is not about President Donald Trump. This is about racism in the United States of America. Congresswoman, I hear you, but on this, we're not blaming President Trump.
I'm saying that he has divided this country.
No, let me just say this.
He is using race as an
I am
issue.
not going to continue to let politicians use this man as the excuse to deal with racism in this country. It's been going on for far too long in the United States of America. We need some real truth and reconciliation. Yes, President Donald Trump is a racist. There is no doubt about it. But as we have seen, Democrats delve in racism as well. We got to stop making this about who's a Republican, who's a Democrat. I want to know who's a humanitarian.
That's right.
I want to know who's going to stand up for people's lives, starting with black lives, because when you take care of black lives, everybody's life is taken care of. Everyone's life is taken care of. So no more about this. These three men, it had nothing to do with President Trump. What Lieutenant Governor Fairfax is going through don't have nothing to do with President Trump. Northam wearing blackface don't have nothing to do with Donald Trump. Harrington wearing blackface has nothing to do with Donald Trump. This is about racism in the DNA of this country, and I am over it.
Exactly
we are traumatized, Jake, and we are sick of it.
You know,
now, politicians need to stop playing games.
Okay. Amazing, right? Now, just for a little context, this was in regards to the Virginia governor and the lieutenant governor and all the issues that are happening in Virginia. And we have two officials there who were caught wearing blackface. And one who has sort of a track record, I could say, that speaks to his racism. Then we have the issue with the lieutenant governor, where there's two allegations, one of rape, one of sexual assault of some form. So there's a lot going on in Virginia, and somehow the conversation got to where Trump was inserted. And that's when Nina Turner had to set the record straight. My disdain for the Democratic Party is starting to get larger and larger as I watch this type of bullshit happen. It seems like there's been a directive by the DNC that what they will do is every problem, every issue will be turned into a Trump problem. A racist, insensitive, bigoted piece of crap out in Virginia who happens to be a Democrat, who they pushed through. Now, him being racist has something to do with Donald Trump. I don't see how that makes sense. But that's the talking point of the Democratic Party. If it's not blaming Russia for Hillary Clinton's loss, if it's not blaming Bernie supporters for Hillary Clinton's loss, if it's not blaming Susan Sarandon and Jill Stein, Tim Black, and anybody other than Hillary Clinton and her campaign and the DNC for colluding to help get her elected, it's blaming now Donald Trump for any and all things bad and ugly. What I like about what Senator Turner said here was, look, I'm not absolving Donald Trump of anything of what he's done and what he said. But this has nothing to do with Donald Trump. There's racism in both parties. And don't we know this? Like, don't we already know this? I know it. I'm positive of it. I am 100%, I'm 100% sure that there's racism in the Democratic Party. I've received the craziest racist messaging from Democrats. It is what it is. Very seldom do Republicans or conservatives go out their way to talk to me about anything. So I have a vested interest in this getting cleared up. But look, Nina Turner's absolutely right that the Democratic Party has enough to deal with just cleaning up its own backyard. Let's stop making everything about Donald Trump. And don't you think that the people out there know that Donald Trump did not invent all the troubles of the world? Don't you think all of the hashtags for all of the black men and all of the black women killed by law enforcement over the last 8 years, don't you think we know that that didn't happen under Donald Trump? That Donald Trump was just a guy on a show on MSNBC? That he had nothing to do with that? Nothing to do with the police forces? Nothing to do with the water in Flint? Nothing to do with all of the problems? Nothing to do with the North Dakota Access Pipeline? And the indigenous people being water cannoned in 20 degrees below zero weather? Trump had nothing to do with that. We also know that Donald Trump had nothing to do with the deportations that Barack Obama carried out in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, 14, and 15, where he set new records on the number of Latinos and Hispanics and Africans and everybody else he threw out the country. That all of a sudden, these sleepy-headed Democrats woke up when Trump came into office as if they had no idea that we deport people. Wow, we deport people? I had no idea. Trump must have invented it. Or the fact that we've been separating children from their parents in this country for a very long time. Matter of fact, since its inception. What do you think it is called when you lock up a mother for having a nickel bag of weed? Separating her from her children. You do it all the time. This country's been doing it all the time. But now, all of a sudden, it's a new thing. Like, oh my God. So these problems that we see, these issues that we are now so concerned with, instead of tackling them, dealing with them face on, head on, and saying, you know what, we didn't do such a great job, let's do a better job. Let's commit to doing a better job. Instead of doing that, instead of owning up and standing up and challenging, taking the challenge, taking the bull by the horns, what they would much rather do, what they are much more comfortable doing, what has worked for them in the past, and them not realizing they no longer live in the past, is blaming someone else. Well, I want to applaud Nina Turner for standing up. I want to applaud her for representing. Now, I know she's just speaking her truth, and that's what she does. But her truth happens to be the truth of the matter. And thank you, Jake Tapper, for having the guts to keep on a Nina Turner speaking truth to power. That is very rare. It's very rare that you get to speak that much truth to power on CNN. Woo! My God. Nina Turner just spoke more truth to power than you will ever hear on the on the Anderson Cooper show or Rachel Maddow. God, dude. You could combine Wolf Blitzer, Rachel Maddow, Anderson Cooper, and you wouldn't get as much truth that you just got right there in that Nina Turner excerpt. That's some good stuff, y'all. Some damn good stuff right there. That's that good stuff. All right. Are you guys ready for this? All right. We've been talking a lot about Kamala Harris. All right. We've been talking a lot about Kamala Harris. She's the senator from California who, it appears that the Democratic Party wants to receive the nomination. But we're like, not so fast. Not so fast because, see, we've been here, done this. Yeah, you pushed through Hillary last time. Just shoved it right on through. We like to make sure we vet this person. Make sure this person really gets us excited to come out. And what we've been finding out is that Kamala Harris, well, not only is she a prosecutor, not only was she an attorney general, but she has some policies that we didn't support. And she took part in policies or led policies, or she turned her back or turned a deaf ear to other concerns while she was a prosecutor, while she was a district attorney, while she was an attorney general, that just don't sit straight with us. So I've been calling it out, so have so many others, because that's what we've been doing. Now, it's come to my attention that some people think that they invented this thing called calling out Kamala Harris, but I've been doing it for at least 2 years. We've been doing that on the left. We've been calling it out. It's just no one's listening. No, I'm joking. Some people are listening. I'm just saying, I'm not new. I'm not new to this. We've been talking about Kamala for a while now, because we saw this over the horizon. We saw them carrying this person on this, like they did back in the Caesar's days. The slaves would be carrying this thing, this pallet or whatever, and she'd be the royalty would be sitting in the chair on the throne. We saw that coming over the horizon. Nancy Pelosi riding the slaves back. Keep marching, keep marching. Chuck Schumer on the other side, keep going, keep going. And they just carrying her. I saw it coming over the horizon, like, uh-oh, here comes the chosen one. And if they're carrying her, she can't be good for us. Oh, because if she was good for us, they wouldn't be carrying her, because that would mean she would be against the corporations and the private prisons and the interventionist wars and the fracking and the police state, and we could just keep going. So anyway, Kamala Harris made a special appearance on The Breakfast Club. I don't know. Someone said, Tim, don't look like a regular appearance to me. Where's Angela Yee? Where's the, when they shoot this? This looks like they just put this together to kind of shut people up. Yeah, because see, there's this thing going around called ADOS, which African Descendants of Slaves, which is which is a loosely fitted organization of people, of black people of black slave descent who are tired of the BS and want tangible results for black folks who have helped build this country and did not get compensated for it. I know, it's crazy, right? So anyway, here goes Kamala Harris at The Breakfast Club. It's very interesting. There's a lot to talk about it. I'm going to show you the clip. And, yeah, let's just do this. Let's just go. The Kamala Harris Files. BS. Charlamagne was so afraid to ask her questions. I thought maybe he had a warrant out for his arrest.
You went to Howard University, so why do people say things like she's pandering to black people?
DJ Envy made so many wrong comments. He should have exercised his right to remain silent.
Does it bother you that it seems like so many people that are against, it's not so many people, but the people that I've seen are against look like you and look like me and look like Charlamagne, our own?
They allowed Kamala Harris to make her record all about locking up pedophiles and murderers, when most of her time was spent locking up people over weed. We really got to do a better job of vetting candidates when we get an opportunity to talk to them.
You know what worries me and bothers me? Well, scares me, I should say. When I seen Bernie and Hillary running, people rolled for Bernie so much that when she actually won, they turned their back and they did not want to have anything to do with Hillary.
Researcher, but they met when they were active in civil rights.
So that video you just saw there was a portion of an excerpt of what I released on Twitter because I wanted to put something out before the show tonight and that speaks to this Breakfast Club interview. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go through different pieces of the interview and speak to it specifically so we can sort of, drill down on all this BS. All right, here we go.
Well, yeah, Maya and I, my sister, we joke we grew up surrounded by a bunch of adults who spent full time marching and shouting.
Yeah, and see, that's what bugs me out about the criticism you receive, because it's like your parents were civil rights activists. You were born in Oakland. Oakland's a black ass town.
Oh yeah.
You went to Howard University. So why do people say things like pandering to black people?
They don't know me. And I, listen. I think that also, some folks have a limited vision of who we are as black people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Charlamagne, there's a lot of reasons why people say that she's pandering. I'm sure that since you have, a smartphone or a tablet or a desktop or a laptop, I'm sure you've ran across a few of these comments. They think that she's pandering because, well, they just don't think that she's authentic. They think that she's pandering because, I don't know, because she's got videos of her dancing to Cardi B. Sort of like Hillary with the hot sauce. Just seemed like, what's that got to do with anything, and why are you doing it? I mean, at the very least, it's very cringy. They think that she's pandering because when she started naming hip-hop artists that she liked, she named a dead man by the name of Phife Dawg, as if he was still alive. That would mean she tuned out from hip-hop, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. Or 10 years ago, at least. When was the last time Phife put out an album with Tribe Called Quest? Rest in peace, Phife. That's why they call her pandering. And you know why we say she pandering, Charlamagne. Why are you going to sit there and act like you have no idea of everything I just ran down? What am I, psychic? What am I, the sponge of information? No, I'm not. No, I just, like you, this is my job, it's your job, and it's my job. Why are you so bad at your job, Charlamagne? Why don't you care to get it right, Charlamagne? I know, paycheck, Charlamagne. Come on, man. You got a laptop in front of you. You can Google, why do they think you are, why is Kamala Harris pandering? And it would give you results. And then you can say, hey, Kamala, people say this and people say that. And you can go one by one instead of asking her, hey, why do they think you pander? That don't make sense. I already know you really black, even though she's from India and Jamaica. That's where her parents from. I bet you if she said she was Native American, you wouldn't complain if Native American people was like, hey, yo, you ain't Cherokee. Like, they got tests you got to do. But anyway, we're going to keep it going, guys, because Charlamagne didn't know why she was pandering or why people said she was pandering. So now, hopefully, we just gave him some information that he didn't know. There's more.
And that's on them. That's not on us. People need to be educated about who we are.
It seems like some of it comes from us, though. Like, it's like, oh, she doesn't even identify as a black woman. I've even seen Kamala Dozal memes. I'm like, huh?
Okay, I guess I got to go back at it again. I think it was the day after she announced, the day she did the town hall on CNN. You know, Time Warner, the parent company of CNN, who gave to her campaign, and she's the only candidate who has been given a town hall. Yeah, that town hall. Just if you want to. Just a fun fact, right? During that town hall, she was asked, I think it was Jake Tapper, he asked her, he said, we understand you got this, hereditary of a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. from actual India. And then you say you could be the first black woman. Kamala Harris was the one who said, Charlamagne, she said, I don't consider myself black. I consider myself an American. You know, she did the Raven-Symoné thing. The Raven-Symoné thing. Remember that? The Raven-Symoné, that you dragged Raven-Symoné and gave a donkey the day for it? Well, she used the same exact explanation by saying, hey, I'm not black. I don't consider myself black or Indian, or, well, I just consider myself an American. Don't tell me you don't know she did that. Because you damn sure know when Raven-Symoné did it. Is it making sense now when people say you're pandering? 1 minute is, I'm black, we black. They don't know us. They don't know us black folks. And then she got on stage on CNN and said, I'm not black, I'm just an American. Well, which one is it? Have we decided if we're going to run as an American or as a black American? Or as an Indian American or as a Jamaican American? Or what is it? See, what it appears to be is whatever works best at the time is who she'll be. And who does that remind us of? Hillary Clinton. And what happened when they ran Hillary Clinton? You got Donald Trump. That's what happened. Let's keep going. There's more information. Glad I'm here to help.
What's that?
Yo, Rachel Dolezal.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, here's another fun fact. The Rachel Dolezal documentary that was done by Netflix, I'm actually in that documentary. So it's one of my IMDb credits. My IMDb credits, I think I have 5 now. Go to imdb.com and find that. Or just go to Netflix and watch it. The Rachel Dolezal documentary. I'm in it. I just wanted to let people know I do stuff from time to time. All right.
You know, I can't. I hope that folks will, at the end of the day, understand that the outcome of this election is going to have a profound impact on the lives of real people. Mm-hmm. And I hope at the end of the day that people will focus on who is going to have their best interest in mind and work hard to uplift and empower and unite the folks of our country.
I gotta jump back in here, guys, because it sounded a little bit like she's trying to scare us a little bit. You know, I hope that people are ready to focus on the real issues. Don't be focused on my background. Don't focus on the fact I was a cop, I was a prosecutor, and was attorney general, and that I locked up more black people than, I don't know, slavery. Don't focus on that shit. Focus on what I want you to focus on, which is scary Trump. Listen here, Kamala. I'm sorry. Listen here, Kamala. Your record matters to us. We got through 4 years of Trump. We don't need 8 years of you. I have a problem with anybody who doesn't recognize that the whole idea that we're having a conversation about a prosecutor, about a district attorney, about a attorney general being the Democratic nominee, the fact that we even having that conversation seemed crazy to me. I mean, there are a lot of district attorneys and prosecutors and attorney generals across the country, and they do their job. And their job is to lock up primarily black and Latino people. And more specifically, their job to lock up poor black and Latino people. And poor white people too. They'll lock you up. But here's my thing. Those attorney generals don't try to run for president. At least not as Democrats. See, Jeff Sessions was an attorney general. We didn't even want him to be an attorney general. More or less be the president. They have the same job. See, I'm not just angry about the job that Kamala Harris did in California, though every day I learn a new fact about it. The fact that you think that that's okay. See, the Republican Party stands for certain things. It stands for pro-life, gun rights, religious freedom, you know, certain things they stand for. Military, law and order. That, in a nutshell, and that's my top 5 for conservatives. That's what they stand for. That's what they're about. What do the Democratic Party stand for? I thought it was anti-corruption. Wrong. I thought it was anti-war. Wrong. I thought it was anti-police brutality. Wrong. I thought it was anti-mass incarceration. Wrong. Kamala Harris was doing her job and doing her job well. In fact, in 2012 and 2014, she rejected prison reform. She was against legalizing marijuana when she was a person that could have made a difference to the people in California. When a court order that she released prisoners because she had locked up so many people that it was becoming a safety hazard, she refused to let even some petty nonviolent offenders who couldn't make bail go because she said it's going to hurt our revenue. Now, I found that information not because I'm a rocket scientist, not because I'm a Rhodes Scholar, not because I went to HU, but because it's on the internet and anybody can look it up who gave a damn to find out. But the sheer audacity that you think that it's somehow above or beyond the pale to care about that. And she was a Republican who was against guns, she would not even be in the conversation. And she was a Republican who was pro-choice, wouldn't even be talking to her right now. But you could be a Democrat, be anti-criminal justice reform while you're on the job. You can be pro, lock people up for even nonviolent offenses. And still you can not only run, but you can be on the Breakfast Club and they'll give you a pass. If Kamala Harris was a white man, you wouldn't even have her on that show talking that BS and you know it. The only reason why she's getting the opportunity to even run is because she's black looking. Because she look black. That's the only reason why you're giving her an opportunity to talk. She's a white woman or a white man sitting up here talking about she going to do a good job. You be looking at her record and all the black and white people and all the Latinos that she locked up. The fact that she locked people up for stupid shit like weed, like it was a big deal. You would say, we don't need that person. We don't need the possibility that you can go into the White House and be who you have been for the last 20 years, which is a cop. And you call yourself hip-hop culture. Hip-hop vulture is what that is. All right, we're going to keep going because we got more.
And that's where people are going to have to, ultimately land. And obviously they can make their decisions based on what they see and what they hear.
Your truancy program got some form of reparations for black people. Did you see Mayor de Blasio saying?
Because, nobody in America should have to work more than one job to be able to pay their bills. So we could go on and on.
Where do you stand on some form of reparations for black people? Did you see Mayor de Blasio saying the marijuana economy could be a form of reparations? Marianne Williamson says black people should get $100 billion in slavery reparations. Like, where do you stand on it?
Well, look, I think that we have got to address that. Again, it's back to the inequities. Look, America has a history of 200 years of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Address that. Again, it's back to the inequities.
Marijuana economy could be a form of reparations. Marianne Williamson says black people should get $100 billion in slavery reparations. Like, where do you stand on it?
Well, look, I think that we have got to address that. Again, it's back to the inequities. Look.
Notice how she had no response for Charlamagne's question. And actually, Charlamagne did a good job here because Charlamagne did present her and show her where other politicians had actually taken a stance, had actually had suggestions of what could be done. Kamala's dancing on this one, isn't she? Is that the electric slide she doing? Is she doing I don't know, is it the moonwalk? What is she doing? She doing a Ralph Northam moonwalk without the blackface? What's she doing, y'all? Why is she giggling nervously? Oh, because Charlamagne got her. Give it up for that. Yeah. See, this is how this works, guys. I support reparations. Yeah, I support them. I think that Kamala Harris should be able to answer the question if she supports it or doesn't support it. And how and what would be her vehicle of support for it. It could be, I don't know, college tuition. It could be, it's a lot of different scenarios. Charlamagne just threw out a couple of ideas that other well-thought, well-intentioned people had came up with. I don't know which is better. We could put together some form of investigation. We got a lot of government laying around. We could task one of the government departments with finding that out. But the nervous laughter and really not having a plan means she's not really, I mean, come on, if you're a black politician running for president, don't you think someone's going to ask you about reparations at some point? I mean, come on, guys. Come on. To have no plan and not even just be like, hey, no, I don't support it. I don't think it's a good idea. That would be something. At least we know where you stand. I'm going to keep it going, but I want to give Charlamagne props for that, okay? All right.
America has a history of 200 years of slavery. Mm-hmm. We had Jim Crow. We had legal segregation in America for a very long time.
I'm sorry, guys. What the hell does that got to do with reparations? We know what we had. We know the shit that's wrong. What are you willing to do to fix it? What are you willing to do to fix it? And don't give me the bullshit. If she was if she was running and she was the first transgender or the first gay LGBTQ person running and Marriage Equality Act hadn't happened, you think anybody would have a problem asking her about Marriage Equality Act? No, I don't think so. If she was Jewish, all right, first Jewish woman running, and someone brought up the anti-Semitic situation or the need for legislation on that, do you think she would have a problem answering? No, she wouldn't. Why such a hard time answering very specifically hashtag Tangibles 2020, hashtag ADOS about reparations? Why the history lesson? We know what's wrong. What you gonna do to fix it? Or nothing. You can say nothing. You can say I'm not gonna do anything. But what we don't like is the double talk. At least that's not what I like. I dislike double talk. I dislike tap dancing and word salad. I like you. Do you like me? Hey, you wrecked my car. Did you wreck my car? Someone wrecked my car. Did you wreck my car? Hey, you owe me $20. You know you owe me $20. Remember that $20? You got my $20? Like, I like direct people. Not being direct is a sign of either being a slimy politician or being a schemer. Kind of how I look at it. We'll keep it going, guys. This is getting funner and funner, isn't it?
The Voting Rights Act was only strong for 50 years, and then they wiped it out with this United States Supreme Court in the Shelby decision, to the point that 22 states immediately thereafter put in place laws that one court found were crafted with surgical precision to have black people not be able to vote. So we've got to recognize, back to that earlier point, people aren't starting out on the same base in terms of their ability to succeed. And so we have got to recognize that and give people a lift up.
So basically what she's saying is, we're going to do some very general shit for your very specific problems. That's what this is all going to come down to. I got this legislation I'm about to do, or something this act I'm working on, and it's for everybody. And if it works, you'll be helped too. I know I just ran through a list of things that will very specifically hurt you and your kids, and your parents' parents. We know that. I know all that. I just ran through them. It's not that I'm oblivious to your very specific injury. It's not that I'm oblivious to the state of your condition that has been created by government policies. Not some racist white lady down at the Walmart. Not Donald Trump saying something about Colin Kaepernick, but about very specific government policies that were created to marginalize and hurt you and keep you as bottom. She's well aware of it. But what she wants to do to fix it is she wants to do something for everyone. So as everyone lifts, you just stay here. You're already here on the bottom. We're going to lift everybody. You're still on the bottom. You're still eating. You're still at the bottom. But everybody move up a little bit. But you're still there. That's the solution. And then people say they don't understand why that's not desirable. If you were a fireman, you were called to a block where there was fires. When you got to the block and you saw one house on fire and another house not on fire, where would you take your hose? According to Kamala and Cory Booker, you just spray both houses. Because you wouldn't want to, show favoritism. Let's keep going.
And there are a number of ways to do it. Part of my initiative, again, around the LIFT Act is that same point. You're lifting people up who are making less than $100,000 a year. What I want to do about rent is the same thing. What we need to do around education and understanding disparities, what we need to do around HBCUs. But we have a history of racism in America.
So you are for some type of
Yes, I am.
reparation? Okay.
Yes, I am.
You know what worries me and bothers me? Well, scares me, I should say. When I seen Bernie and Hillary running, people rolled for Bernie so much that when she actually won, they turned their back and they did not want to have anything to do with Hillary, which was part of the reason why I felt like she lost. Do you have that fear, or is there a game plan for that? Because there's so many people running. There's going to be people that's going to be gun-ho with Cory Booker and gun-ho with you and gun-ho with whoever runs, whoever else runs. Is that some type of, I guess, strategy to make sure that if one of those people don't make it and you make it, that those people, they turn their back and they
for some type of
Yes, I am.
reparation? Okay.
Yes, I am.
You know what worries me and bothers me? Well, scares me, I should say. When I seen Bernie and Hillary running, people rolled for Bernie so much that when she actually won, they turned their back and they did not want to have anything to do with Hillary, which was part of the reason why I felt like she lost. Do you have that fear, or is there a game plan for that? Because there's so many people running. There's going to be people that's...
Okay. All right, guys, we got to jump in here. If you don't follow me on Twitter or on Instagram, follow me on Twitter on Instagram. My Twitter is Real Tim Black. I'm also Real Tim Black on Facebook. I'm Tim Black at Night on Instagram. I speak directly to issues. I don't apologize for them. Okay? So it's not for kids. It's not for the sensitive at heart. If you're sensitive at heart and you're easily offended, you might not want to follow me. But if you want some real shit, some real truth, we'll follow me because I'm going to be spitting nothing but real truth. Okay, so I'm so pissed off about hearing this. I'm really tired of it, guys, because it's such a myth. And the myth is that all of these Bernie supporters did vote for Hillary. All right, so I tweeted out 2 links. Not from Bernie Sanders' campaign office, not from his wife, not from Nina Turner or Susan Sarandon or, I don't know, Rosario Dawson or Tim Black or Jimmy Dore. No, not from us. From corporate media entities that show that between 12 and 8% of Bernie voters voted for Trump. This is standard. That is standard. When Hillary Clinton ran, estimates of 25 to 30% of Hillary Clinton supporters voted for McCain. I don't know about you, but I'm not the best at math. But even if we take 12%, say the highest number that they've come up with is 12% of people who had voted for Bernie Sanders during the primary who didn't vote for Hillary but instead voted for Donald Trump. Even if we chose the highest number that has been estimated, it's still only 50% or less than 50% of the number of people who voted for Hillary who did not bite the bullet and vote for Black Obama or whatever. Instead, who voted for McCain. But people like DJ Envy and these people who want to ride on this lie, because it is a lie, because that's not what happened. It's not true that Bernie Sanders supporters all said, "Oh, screw it," and just voted for Donald Trump. That's not what happened. We have it. It's in document. It's documented. It's not by Bernie Sanders people that was put together the documentation. You can Google it. It's in the Washington Post and the New York Times and NPR and several other agencies and Real Clear Politics. This everywhere that you can find it. And this gets back to a better, more important point. I'm upset with DJ Envy right now, but I shouldn't be. DJ Envy is a DJ. There's a reason why these politicians like Kamala Harris choose to go on the Breakfast Club. They won't get asked any questions. They can say whatever they want. They can spin whatever narratives they choose to spin. It's not owned by anybody specifically who has a vested interest, obviously, in the truth. DJ Envy, it's not his job to be a journalist. It's not his job to know these things that he can Google, that he can look up. It's not his job, okay? He is a stand-in for a person who would actually give a damn about getting this right. He is a stand-in for a person who considers himself a commentator or a journalist or an activist or just somebody who's really interested in this. That's a horrible statement to make, and she doesn't correct him. It was just to butter her up, actually, because Charlamagne just exposed the fact that she has no specific plan for reparations, that she just word saladed threw word salad at Charlamagne on a very simple question. So I think DJ Envy just wanted to throw an easy one to her, because Charlamagne just kind of embarrassed her inadvertently. Maybe he didn't know she would be as bad as she was. She was just as bad as Cory Booker. All right. So there's more here. I'm not going to play everything, but I'm going to play, there's a couple more parts.
Going to be gun-ho with Cory Booker and gun-ho with you and gun-ho with whoever runs, whoever else runs. Is that some type of, I guess, strategy to make sure that if one of those people don't make it and you make it, that those people ride with you? Because if they don't, it's going to be like it's kind of divided so much that we have 45 again.
It is my...
Then and I was like, this is the only Howard University alum that I'm going to support.
He just wants to remind you that Hampton is the real HU. That's all.
It's not, you know.
It's not about that.
You know.
But you were attacked so fast for being a prosecutor, and people were upset about it. What do you say to some of those critics?
Well, first of all, look, I'm not going to ever apologize for saying that when a child is molested or a woman is raped or one human being kills another human being, that there should be serious consequence. I'm never going to apologize for that. Mm-hmm. I also believe strongly that the criminal justice system in America is deeply flawed and it must be reformed.
All right. All right, guys. Right there. It's important. She said she wouldn't apologize for rapists or murderers or pedophiles. I don't know what she said. Horrible, most horrible people who do the most heinous of actions of physically hurting citizens. So she wouldn't apologize for seeking punishment or punishing those people. And I don't think anybody wants her to apologize for that. In fact, I don't think there's anybody who would want you to apologize for locking up murderers and rapists and serial killers and whatever. But the fact of the matter is, and these two gentlemen here, DJ Envy and Charlamagne the God, could have looked it up and found out that the majority of her prosecutions, the majority of people locked up in California during her time as both a prosecutor, as an attorney general, or as a district attorney, did not murder people, did not rape people, did not sexually assault children. The majority of the people that Kamala Harris locked up or Kamala Harris locked up were nonviolent drug offenders, people with a little bit of weed or a little bit of coke, were the people she got her bread and butter cases off on. But instead of pushing back on that fact and letting her gaslight you, you let her gaslight you with talks of the most depraved people that could possibly be locked up. This is all a distraction to take your mind off the fact that she locked people up for weed. She was locking people up for weed. This is what prosecutors and district attorneys and attorney generals do. This is their job. They're the top cops. That's what they do. That's why they shouldn't be presidents. That's why they shouldn't be running for nominations. I'm wondering how she got to be a senator. She goes on and says that, our criminal justice system is heavily flawed. It's a flawed system and it needs to be fixed. Why were you a part of the flawed system? Was it a flawed system when you entered it in 2003? Was it a flawed system when you stayed in it until 2016? You stayed in the flawed system for a very long time, and now you say it's a flawed system, and you're just the person to go back and fix the flawed system. Wouldn't it be better for us to get behind somebody who actually been an activist against the flawed system, not somebody who was a part of it? I mean, we don't really need you to tell us about the drug war. Even though how are you going to support the drug war for a decade and then come tell us, hey, I'm going to stop it? I'm just the person to stop it. After I furthered it. After I fought against reform. Now I'm the person that you should elect to put it to an end because, hey, who else knows it better than somebody who implemented it, baby? See, this is the type of thinking. This is psychotic, actually. We'll keep going, but she said it was a flawed system. One last thing, little story. Back in the early 2000s, a friend of mine introduced me to a fireman. Like, we had beers. One of his friends said, one of my friends is going to join us for beers, man, let's hang out. So one of his friends who was a fireman, we had an opportunity to talk. We were just kicking it. He was telling me about his career as a fireman because I was in computers. I was like, man, wow, man, to be a fireman would be an interesting gig, man. So tell me about it. And he was telling me, well, you know what? I just became a fireman again. I said, again? He said, yeah, again, because I quit for a while. I switched careers. I said, wow, what'd you switch careers to? He said, well, I switched and I became a police officer. I said, for real? He said, yeah. He said, here's how it went. I was a fireman for 8 years. And I always wondered what it would be like to be a police officer. So I switched and I became a policeman. I became a policeman for a year and a half. And I hated it. I said, what you hate about it? He said, well, first of all, you deal with some people that are just horrible people. And you got to do that every day. And then after a while, even you think the worst about people, so you're looking at everybody new that you meet like they're the last person you met who was a horrible person. So sometimes it's hard to tell the good people or the people you shouldn't be so hard on from the people that you should be hard on. And it was a high-stress job. I just didn't like it. I like people to be happy when I showed up. I don't like showing up and everybody's mad. So I quit the job as a police officer and I went back to being a fireman. And I've never been happier. See, that man, He was in a line of work that he enjoyed, and he got into a line of work he didn't enjoy. He didn't say, oh, I'm going to change the police force. Yeah, little old me is going to change it. I'm going to change the D.C. Police Department. He decided he'd rather go back to the district firehouse that he was at because his conscience would not allow him to be in that occupation any longer. Felt better not doing that job. Kamala Harris wants you to think she was in law enforcement because, well, we need me to represent it. We take some of us to be in this line of work. Then she moves up in that line from prosecutor to district attorney to lead district attorney to attorney general. 4 or 5 steps. All along, she's really this progressive person. Let me tell you something. A progressive person cannot survive in that environment. It would be contrary to everything that you are about. A progressive-minded person who feels like this job is wrong, that I'm incarcerating single mothers for weed, I'm incarcerating young men for stupid stuff like having a 20 bag of crack or cocaine or something, to being with friends at a party and there's drugs, and I'm locking up people and they're losing their futures for they didn't even hurt anybody. First-time offenders are getting 3 years and coming out different people. You understand whose lives are ruined. Like, if you are a progressive person, you can't go into that. You can't go, I'm an activist. Activists work for activist organizations. Activists don't become district attorneys and say, I'm an activist, and then try to meet quota. I don't know who Kamala Harris thinks she's fooling. She ain't fooling me. Maybe she thinks she's fooling DJ Envy or Charlamagne the God. I don't even think she's fooling Charlamagne the God, though. I think Charlamagne knows. But he don't own the Breakfast Club, and he would like to stay working at the Breakfast Club. And I'm beginning to feel like maybe that's the same way DJ Envy feels. Maybe he don't own. I know he doesn't own the Breakfast Club, but maybe he like to continue working there as well. All right. There's like one more part I got to get to on this. I'm running out of gas. I want to thank everybody for hanging in there. I want you to know, this show is brought to you by TipLightTV.com. It's brought to you by the viewers of this show. We've been doing this for 6 years. I've always been an advocate for the things that I advocate for. Money out of politics. Medical coverage. Medicare for all. Medical coverage in the form of Medicare for all. Cheaper pharmaceuticals. The end of the failed drug war. The end of mass incarceration. The legalization of marijuana. The end of fracking. The support of indigenous rights for indigenous Native American folks. Ain't shit changed. Let's keep going.
And that's why I have dedicated myself to doing the work of, one, focusing on vulnerable populations and making sure they are safe, and equally focusing on what we need to do to reform the criminal justice system.
All right. It's impossible to say you do both equally. You cannot be a police officer who doesn't make count. You cannot be a prosecutor that doesn't prosecute people and throw them in jail. That's your job. How can you tell me you equally focus on protecting people and locking people up? It's impossible. You can't do it. You can't keep both things balanced in your head. You can't have a job of doing it. How can you have a job of doing something? If you are an executioner, you execute people. You can't tell me, well, I care as much about life as I care about executing mofos. Isn't your job to be the executioner? Yeah, that's my job. Isn't that why you got the axe in the hood that you put over your face? Yep. And you carry out your job and you execute people. Yep. And you want to tell me that you spend just as much time saving lives Yeah, I do. How? Is your job to save lives? No, that's not my job. Do you have a quota of how many people you have to save? No. Get the hell out of my face, please. Once again, Kamala thinks she's talking to damn fools. She couldn't be an abortion doctor at a clinic taking care of Planned Parenthood needs, could she? And go to the GOP and be like, yeah, well, I care just as much about preserving life as I do care about making sure the woman's happy with having a pregnancy or not. What you talking about? It wouldn't work, would it? Because they're not gullible like that. They wouldn't care if she was Latino or Asian, Native American or black, or she was white as the drifting snow, the fresh snow. They would not care. They'd say, get the hell out of here before we call the people on you. Get the hell out of here before you don't be able to make it out of here. That's what they would do. But since Kamala Harris is black, we got these people who act like that don't matter. Look, my thing is, look, Democrats, you either for something or you're not. You either get something or you're not. You either pro-mass incarceration or you're not. That's all. Let's just make our mind up about what we are. Let's make our mind up about who we say we are, and let's try to line those things up. You want Kamala Harris? Just admit you don't give a shit about mass incarceration. You don't give a shit about ending the failed drug war. You don't give a shit about people who helped continue it. You care less about that. Own it, accept it, and own it. All you Hollywood types, all you athletes, all of you, the Ricky Smileys, the Roland Martins, all of you people coming out of the woodwork, camping for Kamala Harris. Just admit, you don't really give a shit about these things. I still disagree with you, but I respect the fact that you can own up to your bullshit, because this right here is ridiculous. Stand for something. All right.
And I'm going to tell you also, when we know a system needs to be reformed, when we know it's broken, there is certainly a role on the outside, but we also should not take ourselves out of the opportunity to be on the inside and have an impact there and be an ally to what we need to do around reform from the inside. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Receptionist, I want to talk to Kamala, and I don't want to talk to anybody else but Kamala. And I would go to the window and I'd bring them back to my office, and they would cry.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. I must interject this, because I want you to know this is nothing personal. My feelings about Kamala Harris would be totally different if she did a different job. You don't think I want a candidate that will champion for the issues that I care about? I desperately want that. You don't think I want a president for my children, my children's children, my neighbors, my friends, my viewers, the world? A president that's going to carry out an agenda that is of peace, that is of prosperity, that's of environmental protections, that's of, maintaining our planet, that's of, helping black folks get their shit right in a system that has dogged them for 400 years. You don't think I would want that? I would want that. I don't care if it was Kamala Harris or if it was Cory Booker, whoever it was. But I would not support somebody who does it. And this is what you need to think about when you have Kamala Harris talking about working inside the system and people working outside the system. As Attorney General, Harris stopped legislation that it would have required her office to investigate police shootings. Kamala Harris stopped legislation that would have required her office to investigate every time a police officer shot a civilian. But she wants to talk to me now about how, hey, well, now that I'm running for president, I'll do something about it. If she wanted to do something about it, wouldn't she have died on that hill when she was an attorney general? Wouldn't she have done something about it back then when she actually could have done it for California? But I really was just waiting to do it when I became president. That's why I didn't do it then, because, hey, I was waiting for the real big job to do it. People are buying this, I guess. It goes on. When California was ordered to reduce prison overcrowding, she argued against it. She said accurately that a low-wage workforce would go free. She didn't want a low-wage workforce to go free from California because the state of California benefits from incarcerated folks doing jobs that the state gets money for. That's why the inmate will get 30 cents an hour, but the state makes the money. They're not charging 30 cents an hour. That's just all you get. She always sided with law enforcement, which means she acted against the interests of black people. She still does this in her memoir, These Truths We Hold. An American Journey. She says of mass incarceration, I wanted to tear it down, but the facts say otherwise. Believe when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
And they would say, nobody is taking this case seriously. My son is dead. And they're not investigating it. They're not taking my complaint seriously. And no one is acknowledging my pain. So those are the experiences I had. Now, listen, did I get enough done? No. Did I want to do more? Absolutely. But, you know, there are people who, in this campaign for president, are definitely going to try and hit us from the right and the left.
Mm-hmm.
Because they sense that we and our campaign may have strength.
Does it bother you that it seems like so many people that are against, you know, it's not so many people, but the people that I've seen are against look like you and look like me and look like Charlemagne, our own?
Well, black, I get what you're saying, but I think black people just have questions for people who may not know who exactly you are. So it's
DJ Envy, brother. I don't know you, you don't know me, we never met. I want you to know that no one deserves your vote. No one deserves your vote. No one deserves your friendship, no one deserves your loyalty, other than the people who have been loyal to you and have proven themselves to you to be of value. That's it. The only people that deserve your loyalty are people who benefit you, who serve your needs, who have your best interests at heart. No one owes Kamala Harris anything who's not in her family, who hasn't benefited directly from what she's done. No one black owes Kamala something because she looked black or because she liked Cardi B or she can make greens, bro. DJ Envy, you are... There's a movie called A Soldier Story. I want you to rent that movie. And I want you to watch it. I just want you to take your time, watch that movie. That type of thinking that you have, I'm probably about 10 years older than you, and your thinking stuck in the past. Don't let old Tim Black have to show how old your thinking is. Black, one way that you can be fooled and manipulated and used is to use somebody to look like you in order to screw you over. The bottom line is this. I'm going to ask the same questions of Elizabeth Warren, the same questions of Cory Booker, the same questions of Bernie Sanders, the same questions of Tulsi Gabbard, the same questions of Amy Klobuchar, the same questions of Joe Biden. Doesn't it hurt you that black people want to ask you about your record as if that is not what we're supposed to do? That's what you're supposed to be doing right now, sir. is asking her about her record and came prepared, at least attempted to come prepared like Charlamagne did, with questions. You came with no questions, but you're talking. You're talking about how you feel, not about anything real. And you're basically giving her a pass. Now, that may not hurt your kids because you have money, but it hurts my kids. It hurts some of our kids. And all those who are not as well off to be working for a revolt. Maybe then you'd be a little bit more concerned. Maybe if you were more in fear of your son being pushed into the criminal justice system because you don't have a good lawyer, if you didn't have a good lawyer, like the rest of us, by hiring the world's top cop or the California's top cop to become the commander-in-chief. And I'm going to end it with this. I never would have voted for Sheriff Clark. Now this dog catcher. You know Sheriff Clark, black guy with the big hat, law enforcement guy, cops do no wrong. That was Kamala Harris. There is very little difference in the way she ran business and the way Sheriff Clark ran his business. I would never vote for Sheriff Clark not to be dog catcher, not to be hall monitor, not to be crossing guard, none of that. Damn sure wouldn't elect him as president. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Tim Black for TBTV. Subscribe to this channel, become a member today. Follow me as Real Tim Black and Tim Black at Night on your social media platforms. Become a member of my Wolfpack where you'll get special access to my content and everything we put out. I have a comedy special out called Racist People Suck. I wish you check that out. It's on Amazon. It's streaming there. You can also find it at racistpeoplesuck.com. I have a new video breakdown of the, how can I say this? Of the State of the Union. It's doing very well. Please go check that out on my YouTube channel. And yeah, I'm also on Roku if you have Roku. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. I'll see you tomorrow. What a day.